fight against gender-based violence? Does the law fully protect women against all forms of abuse? What recourse does a woman in an abusive relationship have? And how do cultural stereotypes impact successful marriages? What time is it? It's question time. The march towards social and economic freedom for women continues. This was said by President Jacob Zuma during the National Women's Day celebrations. With the theme, Women United in Moving Women's Agenda Forward, this year's events coincided with the release of government's report on the status of women in the country. While the report is a step in the right direction, statistics indicate that gender-based violence seems to be on the rise, with some attacks becoming more gruesome. A reminder that this is a live program, and therefore you can call us and air your views on the numbers on the screen, 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle, @QuestionTime24. My guest today, Sakina Mohammed, who is the Secretary of People Opposing Women Abuse Power, and Ntombentsha Badlanyana, who is the Deputy Governance Manager of Gender Links. Welcome to the program. Unfortunately, the other guest will join us shortly.
Okay.
Let's talk just briefly as we celebrate, I don't know, are we supposed to celebrate or commemorate Women's Day? What happens?
It's a bit of both. It's celebrating and commemorating, remembering where we've come from. Thinking about the women of 1956 and the achievements and the strides in which we've made for gender equality. So you could say it's a bit of both commemoration and celebration.
So are the Happy Women's Day messages relevant?
They are relevant, but at the same time, Paul, I think we shouldn't lose the focus of why we have to look at this day as a symbolic day. But at the same time, we have to also take stock of where we're at right now. With the President releasing the report on the status of women yesterday, some of the things that came from the report were, commendable, but I also think that there's some areas in which we have to improve.
So would you say that, based on the question, is South Africa making any progress in the fight against gender-based violence? What would be your answer?
We're not really winning it. We're not, because statistically, we are one of the highest countries with GBV. In most of the cases, we have cases that are underreported. And how do we account for those cases that we do not report? We have statistics that prove time and time again that women and children continue to be victims of violence. Another form of violence which is not documented correctly is economic violence, which is on the rise, where people have no access to resources. So financially, people cannot have accountability for what they have. And emotional abuse as well. That's also a form of violence. But look with the recent case with the radio DJ, Donald Sibulaya. That's been gaining prominence this past couple of weeks or so. Typical case of gender-based violence over there. And not so long ago, we had the Oscar Pistorius trial. So,
but you see, I'm happy you raised Donald Duck's case. Where are you as organizations? Because when Oscar Pistorius shoots and kills River Steenkamp in Pretoria, you are all over. We see you dominating the streets. You are filled up the courtrooms. And then here's another black girl in Soweto. She gets brutally murdered. Where are you? And not just you in particular, civil society and political organizations, including the ANC Women's League.
No, I get you completely. And I think, the shoe tends to fit when it fits sometimes. I think we really need to look at the fact that Oscar Pistorius' case was completely different. It was a high, prominent profile individual.
Same as Donald Duck is quite popular.
He is. But what I'm trying to indicate, or what I'm trying to say is, I'm not sure why there isn't enough advocacy and lobbying coming out. Because I also think that we, as gender activists, have lost the plot amongst ourselves. We're not working together. We're also continuing to work in silos. And I think we could have been seen in those courts. We should be out there advocating and supporting this woman's trial. I'm not sure what happened. I'm really not sure what happened at this case. But I really think that it's highlighting the fact that prominence is always given to different trials. And I do guess we need to look at what we're doing correctly and what we're not doing correctly.
What recourse does a woman in an abusive relationship have?
Look, I think one of the things is people need to understand, women need to understand who's in an abusive relationship, that she does have the rights legally to open a case, for example. She can go to the police, open a case and have a proper document. The case can be taken further to court and it can go to trial. The problem, though, is that sometimes women tend to back out from going further with the charges, either because it's an intimate partner, they can talk through it, and by the time the case actually has to go through, she may say, no, I've changed my mind, I'll withdraw these charges. So I think the justice system also needs to be strengthened, and women need to also know that you can go for a court interdict if someone's harassing you. You have the right to say if they are in a certain parameter where they're not allowed to be close to you, they can get arrested. So I think we need to also capacitate people to understand that they do have the right.
Yeah, but they also abuse those court things. I mean, I've seen guys unable to travel because they have these orders and somebody has, just said whatever they want to say, and before it has even been tested in a court of law, this person already has it. Yeah.
Look, I think it's a bit of both. I think the problem is that if you have a restraining order, you need to be clear what is it for. And the person that is getting the restraining order against that other individual, the other individual needs to also know why the restraining order is there. The justice system is there to protect the victim and also the perpetrator, believe it or not. They have rights, both of them.
And, when we talk, I like the concept that you use, that gender-based violence, for instance, because in relationships, and I'll also pull in gays and lesbians relationships here. Partners who play the feminine part are also very abused. And I don't want to generalize, but I've seen and heard of lesbian partners who are abused by their bully boyfriends, girls. Well, that.
Yes. Look, the thing is with gender-based violence, whether it's same-sex or it's heterosexual, men to women, it comes down to the issue of power. Who in the relationship has got the power? And whether it's in a straight relationship or whether it's homosexual, the issue of the gender violence tends to come with who carries the power. And power comes in different forms. It could be monetary, it could be financial, it could be overall who takes accountability for the relationship. So that's why you also find abuse and violence, and even in same-sex relationships, because it often goes with who carries the weight or power between the two people.
And it's often the men.
Yes.
Are you finding enough support from men to campaign against
gender violence?
Gender violence. Are men coming out to speak?
Yeah, look, we do have men that are supportive, but in general, I must be honest with you, society still tends to victimize men who support women and speak against gender violence. If we find men who support these things, they're often stereotyped or they're ostracized. Then they'll say, oh, why is he aligning himself to women's issues?
Yes.
And yet gender violence is not about women's issues. It's about the fact that violence against women, or even men actually, because men also are victims of violence.
Yes.
Violence should not be allowed to anyone. So we actually do have men coming out to support us, whether we've got activities and events and workshops and meetings, but we still need more men to come to the front, because it doesn't take away from masculinity or you being less of a man when you speak out, when you see a sister being beaten up by another man. Yeah.
Well, we normally say angisngeni. You don't know what happened before that.
It's true.
Perhaps quickly, let's just look at some of the common sexist practices that you are encountering.
Well, it would depend. It would be different because, believe it or not, even in South Africa, with our democracy and our freedom, women are still getting paid less than men, even in prominent jobs. And even sometimes what we find is the issue of women in governance. We still have few CEOs and we still have men dominating. typical situations is we've got women that are more capable of doing jobs that men can also do, but sometimes we'll replace those vacant positions with other men. What does that often say to us? It often says that perhaps people are not ready for looking at women seriously in terms of leadership. And yet we know that there are women that are vocal, that are women who are active, who can, you know, do jobs just as well as men are. And not just to be given jobs for the sake of jobs, but to make sure that it's transformational as well.
It's tough being a woman.
Yeah, no, it is.
A reminder that you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial are 089-110-4210. What do you think? 21 years into democracy, Women's Day. Anything to celebrate? At Question Time 24 is our Twitter handle. This Question Time.
Konka bokamoso.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest, we are now joined by Sakina Mohammed, who is the Secretary of People Opposing Women Abuse Power. That is Ntombe Batlanyana, is the Deputy Governance Manager at Gender Links. And the number to dial, 089-110. It should be on the screen there. I will have to recite it and get to know it offhand. 089-110-4210. It is 089-110-4210. Question Time at Question Time 24 is the Twitter handle. We'll be taking your calls as we go along. May welcome to Question Time. We're just talking here about some of the challenges that women are facing, and we're now talking sexism. 21 years into democracy, women still subjected to any forms of sexism, which are actually illegal according to our constitution.
I beg your pardon?
Is it not illegal?
Of course it's illegal, but has society's values changed? We live in a patriarchal society. It doesn't mean that we have laws that are good and a constitution that is very good, that people have moved and people's thinking have moved. Men still think that women are secondary and still think that they don't add value. So it's not only about the Constitution, but it's about how do you then ensure that those laws are implemented, because we have a wonderful Constitution. But also, I think that what needs to happen is that we all need to understand, and we all need to move to a place where it says this is not about women, this is about human beings, and how do we begin to treat each other? And that's where we need to move to. So 21 years may look like a long time, but it's not a long time for people's ideas to change and to look to a process where it says that we are equal. I mean, if you just take how our country is divided, we still have remnants of that. So it's not going to change automatically. We all have to change.
All right. Erwin, you're calling us from Bombela.
Hi, Mpho.
Yes.
In my opinion, without economic power, women are nothing. The most important thing that women must acquire first is economic power. And then again, once they have been there, amongst the powers that be, they must not have the others who follow that one. They must not have this thing of saying pull head down syndrome thing. They must be supportive of women who are successful, who are doing the job, who are there based on merit. Like the issue that we have now in South Africa, we've got Thuli Madonsela. She's a strong woman. But then again, when you look at the women, more especially in the ANC's ad hoc committee, you can see that men are using women to pull down other women. So they do not interrogate the reasons why corruption is happening, but they would rather go and attack their fellow woman. So what I'm saying is the pull head down syndrome thing must be done away with. And then again, we deserve to have a woman president in South Africa yesterday, not tomorrow, but yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, Owen. Yeah, I guess, well, that's quite political, whether the president, or woman president or not. I don't think there's a question that, you know, people, South Africans doubt that there is a woman who can be president or a woman can become president. I don't think the debate is at that level, though. Or is that what you suspect?
Look, I think from where we're standing right now, the debate hasn't started. And we know that we have women that are supposed to be leading. We've got prominent women within the ANC, but what is a bit disappointing for us 21 years down the line, we still find women that are not saying, I am ready to come to the forefront. We still want to have a man as a deputy, and automatically in the ranking, he'll be the next to take in line when the president's term ends. And yet we're saying, where are the women? We know that, like what you said, we've got capable women.
But are you aware that it is the same women who go and vote for these men?
Yes, it is the same women who go vote for these men. But what we're saying is, why are women not advocating and lobbying amongst themselves to say that they're capable of doing it themselves?
So why isn't that debate happening amongst women?
I don't know, for reasons that are unknown to us. I think that sometimes women are comfortable putting other people in front because we're not taught from an early age to be comfortable with leading. We are always taught to stand behind and let other people speak on our behalf. So that societal norm and value, it starts to go and it's ingrained with us. And yet we know that we've got capable women, like what Mam Sakina was saying.
Let's talk about the societal mind shift then.
Well, you know, if we've got more men like Owen, then the country will begin to change. So we do need more men to come out like Owen does. Remember there was a ad, and I actually do want to think as Power we should run that ad again, where it says South African men are violent. And I think it was Peter Funda or what got that ad was drawn, simply because he said, I'm not violent, so that ad does not speak to me. Yes. But it's that kind of thing that we need to test and say, how many men, because there are men who support women wholeheartedly, and there are men who are feminists who know that if we do not bring women onto the agenda, we will not progress.
But there are also men who support people.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so regardless of...
yes, regardless of their gender. Yes. It is about women. But also you must remember that, you know, we don't... Everybody doesn't believe in women. It's about believing, because we don't believe in ourselves. As black people, we don't believe in ourselves. We believe that somebody else has to lead us. Somebody else has to make it happen for us.
Okay.
You know?
Jomo, you are in Limpopo.
Yes, Jomo, Limpopo, Mbadaliga. I'm just having a concern here when it comes to this issue of women empowerment. Yes. I know that it is good that to say that women are good and they can become a president, future president. But the problem now is about us as men. We have to swallow our pride to say there are women who can manage this country, you know, because it's not just about to say umfazi ngeke lutho because umfazi apartheid means ukuthi abe umfazi. But for now, I'm telling you, we have to swallow our pride as men to say, let us empower women, let us try to workshop them, give them good ideas, try to show them, to educate them how to manage this country, because it is not about men only.
Okay.
Women have got good ideas, I'm telling you, have got good management to manage this country.
Okay. But now, I must ask this question. Which men are you talking about? Because I don't think, I mean, both of these callers, and I'm wondering, where are the women callers? Which men are you talking about? Because men who are calling in are patriotic.
Well, but Paul, let me come to that one. The men that are calling are far and few between. Why? I mean, we have 50 million people in this country. We only had 2 people calling in.
You're fine.
So those
you are a researcher, you would know that
exactly.
it's a sample.
Yeah, so we would really like to hear more men, and we're not saying, Paul, that they aren't.
But are there men who are saying the opposite?
Yes, there are. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you meeting men who say...
there are men who are sitting here, Paul. Let's ask them and let's see if they're honest. Let's take a sample right here.
Yes.
And let's ask these young men here and say, would you want to be led by a woman? And let's hear if they're honest.
Yeah, I think...
Look how they're smiling and they're putting their heads away. Exactly.
An immediate sample, you say. Our floor manager is going to assist us. I think you can come and answer that question. Let's see if what they are saying is true. I'm trying to imagine, where are these men that you're talking about? Because
but there are men that will say, gender equality ends at my doorstep. Yes. That's where it ends. You and I could be having a good conversation right now, and I might be thinking you're such a liberal guy, but behind closed doors, I don't know what the private is like. So you have a private and you've got a public. And you may say to me, but this is where it ends, at my doorstep. When I walk into that house, my wife knows that she does this, this, and that. And my views are different. So, I don't know. Like, there are people that are like that, though.
What do they use? Culture and tradition, perhaps, Ms. Akin?
People use culture, Paul, they use tradition, but they also use... in terms of, you know what, there's no ways we're going to be equal.
Religion.
Men, no, it's not even about religion. Men say to you, come on, Klungyaka, I am the head.
Yes.
Hakibatli, or a gender activist, come on, Klungyaka, no, not in my home, not in my name. But those very men are not the men that's going to stand out there and say, you know, this is my view. And just, recently, a colleague went to court and needed a protection order. And the judge said to her, did you not know that you're marrying a man that is traditional? Now, he, instead of giving her the protection order, he was telling her how to be.
Hold the thought. Jonathan, you are in Peter Maritzburg.
Good evening to you.
Yes.
Good evening to you, and good evening to the ladies that you got on your show.
Yes.
I think the ladies are quite right. There is no reason why we cannot have a lady president, because unfortunately the one we got at the moment is not doing a very good job for anybody.
So a woman would be better.
I just want to make one comment. Why does it have to be an African lady? Can it not be a white lady or a colored lady or an Indian lady? Why does it have to be an African lady? And I think that's where we got a bit of problem there, because I think we must pick the best person for the job.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
To answer Jonathan's question, actually, if you look at the political parties we have at the moment, there's only one political party that's run by a woman. And the leader at the moment is Zanele Kwama Kwazam Sibi. Helen Zelle stepped down and Musi Maimane took off. So if we can actually start to get women who are running political parties and being heads, the idea of being a woman, a president, whether it's a black woman or a white woman, at this stage, I think it's really irrelevant. I think the woman that we would want to see doesn't really matter whether she's black or white. But the truth of the matter is, Mpho, we don't have women that are running political parties at that structure. We don't have. We've only got one party at the moment. So what happens when Zanele steps down? There's going to be another party that's going to be run by men. So when are we going to get women coming up?
Is there a difference whether the party is run by a woman or a man?
I think that there is, in the sense that women are different when they're running their political campaigns and when they're putting their agenda forward. The way that Helen Zille turned the DA around from when it was Tony Leon, she's just brought transformation on so many levels. People may not agree with some of the things that she says about the current government, but you have to give respect where respect is due. She's got, you know, she got the
Well, what I know about Magwaza Msibi is that one old lady in the Eastern Cape said, I like her, the way she dresses because she dresses like umama. So perhaps that could be the way to get votes, just by the dress code, I guess.
I don't think it's only the dress code. I think that's a side issue. I think it's also about what is it that you bring to the agenda, what you put on the agenda. I think that for me, it's about how do you transform also political parties like the ANC. I mean, not so long ago, you had almost 50% women in leadership. That has been reduced. We need to look at why it's been reduced. I mean, the other story, the flip side of that would be there are two speakers that are, the speakers are women, you know, but also let's look at how the leadership is.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I want to ask you quickly, do we also agree that women can be failures?
Oh, absolutely.
Like Mampela Rampela.
Yeah, well, let's not name people, but I think that it's just a human thing.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's about human beings.
All right.
But, I mean, there's 51% of women. So men need to look at that. Eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we've run out of time. But that was question time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. Let's continue the discussion. You can follow me on Twitter @Mpho Tsedi. Malbongwe.